What? Well, go find it. If Mama's got it, go get it. Go get it. No, you don't need that. No, go get it. Go get your ball. Go get your puffball. It's right there. He was handed a plain white envelope and tore it open. His fingers were shaking slightly, and it took him 2 tries to get the small plastic card out. He frowned down at it, not understanding. No program assignment was punched on it. The card read simply, Elevator 6. Hey, babe. Okay, you did get her. Phoebe, come here. I will be right back, but I'll mute real quick so you guys don't have to hear the noise. What?
Did you tell Dad about the idea?
No, I didn't. Mm-hmm. But let me finish this and then we will talk to him. Okay? All right. He put the card in his breast pocket with his ID and left the auditorium. The first 5 elevators at the end of the hall were doing a brisk business as they ferried the following week's contestants up to the 7th floor. There were 4 others standing by the closed doors of Elevator 6, and Richard recognized one of them as the owner of the sour voice. "What's this?" Richard asked. Are we getting the gate?" The man with the sour voice was about 25, not bad looking. One arm was withered, probably by polio, which had come back strong in 2005. It had done especially well in co-op. "No such luck," he said, and laughed emptily. "I think we're getting the big money assignments, the ones where they do more than just land you in the hospital with a stroke or put out an eye or cut off an arm or 2, the ones where they kill you. Prime time, baby." They were joined by a 6th pal, a good-looking kid who was blinking at everyone in a surprised way. "Hello, sucker," the man with the sour voice said. At 11 o'clock, after all the others had been taken away, the doors of Elevator 6 popped open. There was a cop riding in the Judas hole again. "See," the man said with the sour voice said. "We're dangerous characters. Public enemies. Public enemies. They're going to rub us out." He made a tough gangster face and sprayed the bulletproof compartment with an imaginary stun gun. The cop stared at him woodenly. Yeah, he's in trouble. Minus 088 and counting. The waiting room on the 8th floor was very small, very plush, very intimate, very private. Richards had it all to himself. At the end of the elevator ride, 3 of them had been promptly whisked away down a plushly carpeted corridor by 3 cops. Richards, the man with the sour voice, and the kid who blinked a lot had been taken here. A receptionist who vaguely reminded Richards as one of the old TV sex stars, Liz Kelly, Grace Taylor, he had watched as a kid, smiled at the 3 of them when they came in. She was sitting at a desk in an alcove, surrounded by so many potted plants that she might have been in an Ecuadorian foxhole. "Mr. Jansky," she said with this blinding smile. Go right in. The kid who blinked a lot went into the inner sanctum. Richard and the man with the sour voice, whose name was Jimmy Laughlin, made wary conversation. Richards discovered that Laughlin lived only 3 blocks away from him, on Dock Street. He had held a part-time job until the years before as an engine wiper for General Atomics, and had then been fired for taking part in a sit-down strike protesting leaky radiation shields. Well, I'm alive anyway, he said. According to those maggots, that's all that counts. I'm sterile, of course. That doesn't matter. There's one of the little risks you run for the pricely sum of $7 new bucks a day. When a GA had shown him the door, the withered arm had made it even tougher to get a job. His wife had come down with bed asthma 2 years before and was now bedridden. Finally, I decided to go for the big brass ring, Laughlin said with a bitter smile. Maybe I'll get a chance to push a few creeps out a high window before McCone's boys get me. Do you think it really is the Running Man? Ha! Bet your sweet ass. Give me one of those cruddy cigarettes, pal. Richards gave him one. The door opened and the kid who blinked a lot came out on the arm of a beautiful dolly wearing 2 handkerchiefs and a prayer. The kid gave them a small, nervous smile as they went by. Mr. Laughlin, would you go in, please? So Richards was alone unless you counted the receptionist, who had disappeared into her foxhole again. He got up and went over to the free cigarettes machine in the corner. Laughlin must be right, he reflected. The cigarette machine dispensed dokes. They must have hit the big leagues. He got a pack of lambs, sat down, and lit one up. About 20 minutes later, Laughlin came out with an ash blonde on his arm. A friend of mine from the carpool, he said to Richards, and pointed to the blonde. She dimpled dutifully. Laughlin looked pained. At least the bastard talks straight, he said to Richards. See ya. He went out. The receptionist poked her head out of the foxhole. Mr. Richards, would you step in, please? And he went in. Minus 087 and counting. This will be the last section for tonight. I know it's kind of short, but it's been a long day. And this is a long section. The inner office looked big enough to play kill ball in. It was dominated by a huge one-wall picture window that looked west over the homes of the middle class, the dockside warehouses and oil tanks, the Harding Lake itself. Both sky and water were pearl gray. It was still raining. A large tanker far out was chugging from right to left. The man behind the desk was a middle height and very black, so black, in fact, that for a moment Richards was struck with unreality. He might have stepped out of a minstrel show. Mr. Richards, he rose and extended his hand over the desk. When Richards did not shake it, he did not seem particularly flustered. He merely took his hand back to himself and sat down. A sling chair was next to the desk. Richards sat down and butted his smoke in an ashtray with the game's emblem embossed on it. I'm Dan Killian, Mr. Richards. By now you probably guessed why you've been brought here. Our records and your test scores both say you're a bright boy. Richards folded his hands and waited. You've been slated as a contestant on The Running Man, Mr. Richards. It's one of our biggest shows. It's the most lucrative and dangerous for the men involved. I've got your final consent form here on my desk. I've no doubt that you'll sign it. But first, I want to tell you why you've been selected, and I want you to understand fully what you're getting into. Richard said nothing. Killian pulled a dossier onto the virgin surface of his desk blotter. Richard saw that it had his name typed on it, the front. Killian flipped it open.